everyone, and welcome back to the Preppy Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here and listening. This week, I have a fun episode with Bryn of B Hartzell. We talk all about her beautiful collection of accessories and even her store in Avalon, New Jersey. If you guys are local to the Philadelphia, New Jersey area, you have to go and check that out. She has some fun needlepoint events. I know it's seasonal though, so depending on when you listen, it might still be open. But we just have a great conversation, and talking about brick and mortar, I think, is so interesting these days. Before we get into this week's episode, though, I want to thank everyone for voting for the Best of Preppy 2024 awards. The awards went out last week, and I announced those. So that's been really exciting, celebrating all of them. And coming up, things to keep your eyes peeled for, I am getting the website redone, and we're going to have a lot of fabulous new things on the website and the fall collection, and possibly some other brands on there that you can shop, straight from the podcast. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for bearing with me on all the changes over there. But let's get into this week's episode. All right. So why don't you let everyone know who you are, where you live, and what you do?
Sure. My name's Bryn Hartzell, and I own B Hartzell, which is an accessory store and online, and it's based out of Avalon, New Jersey.
I love that. So you are a local girl of sorts, just like me, in the Philadelphia region. And you're recording from your store, which looks beautiful behind you. I love the navy. But so thank you for being here. I'm excited to learn more about you and your business.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
So I always like to start at the beginning, as you know, from listening to my podcast. So tell me a little bit about you as a kid. Were you someone that loved fashion and maybe had dreams of being a fashion designer, or were you someone who was entrepreneurial or creative? What was your childhood like?
So I was always really into fashion, always really into arts and crafts and being creative. My dad actually owns a cabinet wholesale distributor out of Philadelphia. And so all growing up, I would see him at night laying in bed, like at the time, now he does it on computer, but at the time, like literally drawing out cabinet plans. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I know I want to do something in the world of being creative.
Yeah.
So actually, as soon as I turned 15, and so I grew up outside of Philadelphia, but
Okay.
we had a house down the shore in Avalon, New Jersey. And so as soon as I turned 15, I got my working papers. And I went and I worked at a boutique in Stone Harbor, Mimi's and Suncatcher. So I worked there for 8 years. And I did everything from visual merchandising to working the register, sales, everything. And I just knew that I wanted to go into the world of fashion. So I went to University of Delaware,
Okay.
and I was a fashion merchandising major there. And when I graduated, I got a job in product development in New York. And so like a month after graduating from college, I moved to New York. I didn't know anyone.
Oh my
And I was like, okay, I'm probably only going to last a year. I'll give it a try. And then 18 years later, here I am. So
I love that. Oh my gosh. So I actually looked at University of Delaware too, because they're one of the few local universities that have a fashion program there, and it's such a great school. And I love that, you sort of, it sounds like you got your entrepreneurial spirit from your dad then.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely got a lot of that from him.
So, can you tell me a little bit about then your time in New York and working in product development, like what that meant and what the day to day was, maybe who you worked for in that sort of first portion of your career?
Sure. Yeah. So for the first year and a half in New York, so I still actually live in New York. I did live here
For
part
the
of the
summer.
year now that I opened my store. But so for the first year and a half, I worked for Jones New York, and I worked in their dress division. And I was in charge of making sure that all the colors for everything were the colors that they were supposed to be. So for every dress, for 5 different lines, and I would have to constantly be tracking everything coming in. Um, and so that was a really interesting way to get into the business. Something that even going to school for fashion merchandising, no one really talked about. I mean, I had like a class or two, they're like, yeah, product development. But like,
Yeah.
I didn't really know exactly what I was getting myself into. And then after that, I went and I worked for Rossetti Handbags, and I was there for 12 years.
Wow.
And I really grew up there. And it was at a time too when they had just gotten bought out by a bigger corporation. And
Okay.
so there was still a lot more flexibility in people traveling and people really getting to, the teams were still small. So I really
Mm.
got to experience a lot of stuff. I did a ton of licensing while I was there too. So my job really was product development, licensing, and merchandising.
Okay.
So and I was doing like 5 different brands at a time. I was doing a lot of licensing for, at the time, with Ralph Lauren, I was doing their Chaps and American Living lines. And so that was one of the most amazing experiences I could ever have, working on brands that big. And I would go to China for 2 weeks at a time
Wow.
and twice a year, and would really be, you know, on the factory floor and, going to the fabric markets and literally picking out all of the materials we were using. And so it was just stuff that, I mean, I was lucky too. I forgot to mention before, when I
Yeah.
was at Delaware, they had actually started a study abroad program there that was a fashion focused one. So I was able to go to, because we had um, like a long winter break. So
Mm-hmm.
you were able to take that time to, we did a China, Hong Kong, and Japan study abroad.
Wow.
So I had already like visited other factories and seen a lot of that stuff. So it kind of, but then to be able to do it like on the product you're actually working on was a whole different
Mm-hmm.
experience. So
That's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you were working for a large company. I mean, everyone knows Ralph Lauren and like Chaps and those sorts of brands, but it sounds like you got to wear a lot of hats, which I think is unique for a company of that scale. And I'm sure was great experience for you, flash forward now having your own business because you got to, take part in finding the fabrics like you said and being there with the manufacturers and a color like knowing the slightest difference in variations in colors or merchandising. That sounds like such a great experience.
and the nice thing it was really great. And the nice thing too was then being on the merchandising side and everything, I really got to understand the numbers and the whole business side of things. So I felt like, my time at Rossetti, those 12 years that I really like, and then I wound up managing people and, more products. And, it was really the best learning experience I could ever have that really then has helped me in every aspect of my own business, knowing
Yeah,
all of those intricacies, which is really nice.
definitely. So then, after those 12 years, was that when your brand came to be, or was there something in between then?
So then the pandemic happened.
Mm.
And in the meantime, too, we had my company, Rossetti, kept getting bought out by different people. So by different bigger brands. And so the last round, they kind of switched my position so that I was in production as opposed to product development and merchandising. And I realized that even though I'm happy I had the experience, learning about the production end of things is also super important and it's helped make me more well-rounded. It wasn't where I felt passionate. I was like, I want to be on the product side of things and really be more hands-on in the day-to-day of that. So then the pandemic happened and everyone was canceling their orders. And so I actually got let go at that time.
Okay.
And so then when that happened, you know, the whole time working with designers and for years, I would have all these questions about like, oh, can you tweak this print? I was like always in charge of like, you know, trying to design all these new prints, but I didn't actually design anything. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay. I'm like, now's the time. I have time. So I actually signed up for a class with, I don't know if you ever heard of Bonnie Christine. She
No.
does, um, so she has this whole amazing program. It's called Immersion. And
Okay.
she teaches you step by step online how to basically master Illustrator. And as someone that, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like get on this. So I
Yeah.
did. So I took her whole class and it really taught me so much about how to make graphic prints, designs, everything. And so
Do you mind me, for listeners, real quick, interrupting here, but is that program still around? Is it something you do online? Like, how is it a certain amount of weeks, or is it you pace yourself?
it's you get all the information at once
Hmm.
and it's online. She has some like intro ones that are free. I did the paid one. Um and it's really, but all the information's there up front. You can go back and listen as many times as you want.
Okay.
And still sometimes I'm like, "Oh, shoot, I forget how to do that." And I'll, like, go back and re-listen or rewatch, and she keeps making it even better. And she has, like, some in-person class. I mean, she's really, quite amazing and
Yeah.
makes it really easy to learn. And so anyway, so I did that, and then, I was like, "You know what? I think that I kinda wanna do my own thing at this point because." I've done the whole corporate thing, and for as great as it was, I was like, I think it's time to, and like I said before, my dream was always to open my own store down the
Yeah.
shore. So, so then I started to work with some factories I'd worked with before to design my handbags. And then I've always loved scarves. I love to travel. And I feel like there's no better accessory than a scarf because you can really pack light and pack a few scarves and it really makes you look like you have a lot of outfits in your
Mhm.
in your repertoire. So so yeah, so I got rolling on that and then I launched my business last October.
Okay. So October of 23. Yeah.
I know, I'm like, what year is it? Um, Great. And then all winter I was like, I still want to open my shop down the shore. So um and I had a few things fall through and I was like, I don't think it's gonna happen this year. And I was getting a little frustrated about it. And then all of a sudden at the end of April, a spot became available. And I already had a trip planned down to South America. And I was like, so I was able to open the week after Memorial Day.
Oh, wow.
I was able to make the yeah, I was able to make it happen in a short amount of time. So I was very happy. The whole store was set up in 5 days,
Oh my
which
gosh.
was crazy, but I was like, "I need
Yeah.
to get started." So, but I also knew that I wasn't gonna have enough merchandise of my own to make it an interesting enough store for
Mhm.
people to wanna come to. So then I had the idea of I really wanted to, and I know we're in the New England creative community
Yeah.
together. So I had talked to a few people at like our conferences, and I was like, you know what? There's nothing like these women-owned businesses and like these people that I've been talking to. So really, now the store is all about a combination of my scarves and bags, which are like um, very colorful and just
Mhm.
fun and happy, and then combining them with um, the other happy, fun things from female-owned businesses. So
I
really,
love that.
that's what what's happened over the past couple months. So
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, it sounds like you've done so much like in the past year. Um, so tell me a little bit about, let's go back a little, about sourcing and getting your product in and designing that, because I feel like that's what I love hearing about, and I think a lot of my listeners do too. So it sounds like you're producing in New York, right? Which, how did you decide that then? If you, it sounds like your background, you produced overseas, so tell me about finding your factories, I guess.
I'm still actually producing overseas.
Oh, okay.
So I design all, in New York,
Hmm.
but I still source overseas.
Okay. So were you able to use some of your sources from your previous careers, or just kind of, your skills there? What advice would you give on, finding a factory that's a good fit for listeners?
So for me, it was a combination of I did use some sources that I already had,
Hmm.
and then some of it was trial and error, and just sampling, getting samples of what they had to offer, and then having them try it with my prints and with my designs and seeing how they came out. And really reaching out to other people that have used the factory to see if they actually had good experiences or not.
Okay. Got it. That makes sense. And then when it came time for your prints, how many prints do you have for listeners who may not be familiar? And what was the inspiration or the thought on each of them to sort of create this collection and make it cohesive? And what was that process like in the inspo?
Sure. So really, since this was my first collection, I really wanted to um, make sure it was really colorful and felt um, just very wearable. Like no matter which way you would turn the scarf, you'd have a whole different like vision of what the scarf looked like. So I was very cognizant of that, and really, I just wanted to have fun with it. My last name's Hartzell, and so the heart has become a big logo of ours,
Hmm.
and really just played around with that. And I
I
have
love it.
six different patterns total. So I started off um, small, three different sizes, and then just kind of went from there. So
That's amazing. And they're also, colorful and preppy and happy, like you mentioned. In terms of the bags are, um, is convertible the right word, or how would you describe? Yeah. So tell our listeners about, what bag silhouettes you have, and um, what that convertible aspect looks like, and um, why you decide to do that. I'm seeing more and more people making convertible pieces these days. It's funny, I feel like Miss Tisa I had on, and they had some. um there's been a few, and I think it's kind of the trend of where things are going. I don't know if it's more for that, capsule wardrobe, or the price per wear sort of thing. Tell me about your thought process behind it.
So for me, so I have three different silhouettes, and I have a mid-sized tote, I have a mini crossbody, and then I have a convertible. And the convertible by far has been my biggest seller. And I think because of the versatility of it. And when I had that in mind, like I said, I love to travel. And so I always want to pack different bags. And I'm always like, oh, I'm bringing a carry on again. How can I make this happen? And so on our bags, it comes with two different flaps and then a crossbody strap and a shoulder strap. And it can be a clutch too. And really, it just has snaps in the back. So you can easily just snap it off and then snap on the other flap. So it gives you many different looks in one.
I love that. I love how it sounds like, travel is sort of a bit of an inspiration for you, or like a bit of the why behind the brand.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So, with your own business and being an entrepreneur, what would you say is like the hardest, your least favorite part? And then what's your absolute favorite, the piece that you look forward to or makes you so happy with it?
I think that the hardest part for me has really been, especially before I had a storefront, being able to like find people like online. It's great to be online, but it's also really hard in this day and age to be found online.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's been the trickiest part for me. And the best part has been getting to talk to my customers, getting to see people's reactions. And then when you see someone wearing it on the street, there's like no feeling like that. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh my gosh, I've seen it in the wild.
I love that. And, speaking of your store and brick and mortar, it's funny because I feel like for a while, even before COVID and especially right after COVID, I feel like people were like, no, like, we're closing down stores and brick and mortars, like we're going online now. There was kind of a pushback against that. But it's funny because now I'm seeing more people opening stores or from larger brands to smaller brands everywhere in between. And I kind of think it's because the price of rent or leases went down a little bit because people were leaving retail for a while. But when I listen to you talk, it sounds like having your brick and mortar, having that store is so helpful for your business and for growth. And I think that's really unique because for a while we heard so much bad things about having a retail space. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about that and the decision and how much that's helping your business.
Yeah, I think that for me, it was one of those things that it really, well, it started because I'd always had the dream to have the store.
Yeah.
But the reality was, I'd been trying some pop-ups and that kind of stuff, and I wasn't necessarily finding the right markets for me.
Mm.
And I was I knew where my customer was, but not having a store, it was hard to find her. It was hard to get to
Mhm.
her kind of
Mhm.
thing. So I felt like for me, um, it just felt very natural to have a store.
Yep.
And it's been interesting too. I've had so many people come into the store and just be like, "Oh my gosh, your store's so happy. I love it." And like being like, it's nice to be in a store again and not
Yeah.
only finding people online, kind of
Mhm.
thing. So it's been interesting hearing people's like reaction to that. And
Definitely.
it's been really cool too seeing. So um I got really into needlepoint over the pandemic, like many people have.
Yes.
And so it's been cool that like I actually taught myself during the pandemic with these kits from this female owned business in Portugal. And so then when I was buying everything for the store, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy some of these kits. And I was really into it. I think other people will be too.
Yeah.
And then I was able to, at an event I did, I met this girl that makes these Avalon and Stone Harbor needlepoint canvases. So I asked her if she'd be interested in doing events in the store or selling me canvases, and
Yeah.
she was interested in both. And so it's been really cool. Like every Wednesday night, we've had events for the whole summer, and it has
Wow.
been really awesome. The amount of response, getting people in the store, people with like new energy about learning a new skill, just or people that like have been needlepointing for years and still want to come and hang out and, do a new canvas. So it's been really cool to meet new people.
I love that. That is so smart of you to do that. I mean, it sounds like it was born just out of your natural love and hobby, but it's so beneficial because you're getting new people in your store each week, or even if they're returning customers, you're getting them in so that they're seeing new things. So I think that's so clever. Um, I'm curious because I know, Avalon and Stone Harbor, it's a shore town, and so it's more seasonal. What are you closing? Is it just going to be seasonal? Are you going to stay open for the fall and winter? Are you planning to maybe look for another location that's open year round too? What's your plan with that, or have you not gotten there yet?
Yeah, so I'm planning on closing at the end of September, and then that's kind of what everyone around here, the
Mhm.
natural progression of like what happens in this town. And then I'll be open for like the big holidays like Thanksgiving, and they have a Shopaholics weekend in March and that kind of thing. And then in the meantime, I'll be planning my upcoming seasons and working on new designs and all of that. So.
That's awesome. So, what's a resource that you can share with listeners in terms of business? I love asking this question because I end up, reading the books that my guests suggest, or looking into the groups. Is there a book, a group, a newsletter, website, anything that you could share? And you shared a great resource even for that course for Illustrator.
Yeah, I would say Bonnie Christine, like I said before, her immersion class is amazing. And then for me, just being a part of like New England Coastal Community has been amazing. I'm a member of the Junior League in New York. Any of these places that I feel like I get so inspired being around other creative people and more specifically creative women, and just the amount of if you're willing to share what you're going through, people, most of the time have either gone through it or are currently going through it. So it's really nice to just be a part of these like very open communities.
Yep. No, that makes total sense. Um, if you could collaborate with anyone or have someone wear one of your scarves or handbags, who would your like dream customer or dream collab be, or both?
Um, I would say customer wise, I think that either like Michelle Obama or Jennifer Gardner, two like people that I feel like do a lot of amazing things in this world, but also aren't afraid to wear a little bit of color and print. And so I'd be really excited if either one of them were.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. Um, I always ask this question, as you know, but what does preppy mean to you? How do you describe preppy?
Oh my gosh. So for me, preppy is colorful, casual elegance, not being afraid to mix and match and to like mix up textures. I think that's what makes that's what preppy means to me. That's what
Yeah,
makes it interesting.
I like that casual elegance. I haven't heard that before, but I really like that. Um, Now you love to travel, as we talked about. So I'm curious, where's somewhere that's your absolute favorite place to travel? And then where's somewhere that's on your bucket list that you hope to get to?
Um, so well, I feel like this is like everyone's answer, but I love Paris, and anytime I can get back to Paris, I am very happy. And then I've been to both India and Morocco before,
Mhm.
but I would love to go back there again. I feel like now with even more of like being even more of a color lover than ever before, I feel like the amount of color and texture and vibrancy there in both of those places, I would love to go back again and
Yep.
check with new eyes.
India's on my bucket list. I want to go there so bad. There's just so much design and color and, like you said, inspiration. So for sure. Are there any businesses that you'd want to give a shout out to, or that you love that pair well with your brand, or you just love? I know maybe that needlepoint company, or what are three businesses that you think people should check out in addition to yours?
Oh yeah. So Bellamy Designs, they're the ones that design all of my needlepoint stuff, that the Avalon and Stone Harbor canvases that I love. Um, I have this pajama company that I love called Yvonne B.
Huh?
Um, she's based out of New York and she's awesome. And who else? And then I would say I would give a shout out to Unwind, which
Uh-huh.
is that's the needlepoint company based out of Portugal that got me interested in needlepointing during the pandemic. So
Very cool. Okay, I'm gonna have to check out Unwind. I haven't heard of them, and I'm so intrigued.
they're really great.
So, any sneak peeks, anything you're working on that you can let us know about to look forward to? Maybe you mentioned starting to design your next collection, or what's the next upcoming needlepoint event at your store? Anything fun like that?
Um, yeah, well, let me think. I feel like
Every
by the
Wednesday.
I'm like, yeah, every Wednesday. Yeah. But I feel like, yeah, I'm just gonna be working on a bunch of new stuff. So I'm nothing really.
Yeah, but new's fun, and a lot of people, I'm sure, get to discover your amazing scarves and handbags, so that'll be fun. So, my final question is, where can people find you? Let them know your website, your social media, and even where the store's located.
Sure. So I can be found at shopbhartzell.com or Shop B Hartzell on Instagram. And my store is located at 272 21st Street in Avalon, New Jersey.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Bryn. This was so fun learning more about you and your colorful brand.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Preppy Podcast. I hope this put a little prep in your step for the day. Please subscribe, rate, and review on wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow along with @the Preppy Podcast on social media.